We are live. That means that we're supposed to talk now, Geoff. That's what that
It's
means.
not quite 6 o'clock yet, so.
Well, I know, but people are going to be coming in. She's going to be letting them into the group. You can see at the bottom, there's 7 participants now. So
I don't
as that
see that.
number
Oh
goes,
yeah, we're at 8 now. That's
Yeah.
good. Welcome.
so there's people.
Welcome everyone.
I was going to start actually in a little different mode. So as people got on the call, they'd see me in a different light. So there, how's that?
I can't read your hat. What's it say?
It's Spindrift.
Oh yeah, there you go. That works.
That and the beer. So I'm good to go.
That's great. Well, I
For
got.
those that don't know me, I thought maybe I should take this off for a minute.
Might be good.
We've already had a chat today.
We did earlier.
Yeah,
CAGP roundtable.
Yeah, that was fun with our group.
It was.
I'm not sure the official way to start the call. I think we're going to. Just a second now. See, we have the chat live. So.
Right. Yeah. Well, we have 17 participants, so we're still at 5:59.
Oh, you really are going right to the minute, are you? Okay.
Well, no, I don't know. You said you didn't know where to start, and I was just.
I'll start with the weather in Halifax to let everybody
Beautiful.
know that I'm sitting outside in a beautiful 30-degree weather. It's been a gorgeous day today for sure.
Definitely warm.
Nice one. Oh, Liz from Chester. Vancouver.
Vancouver, you're probably having coffee right now, I suspect.
Yes, middle of the afternoon. Oh, that's great. Okay. Is it 6 now? Can we start?
No.
Oh, not yet?
Mm-mm.
Oh, we're still waiting, are we? Okay.
Yeah, by my clock.
Should I talk about my beer while we're waiting?
Well, it's 6 o'clock
Right.
now, so we can do that introduction if you'd like.
Why don't you start? Who are you?
Who am I? I'm Geoff Graham with the QEII Foundation. I'm the Senior Director of Gift Planning there. And we're here in Halifax, beautiful Halifax, Nova Scotia.
And we're having a campfire chat. Looks like you're sitting outside in a campfire.
Well, you know, that virtual screen, that's always a blessing, sometimes a curse.
The flames aren't moving, so that's what I'm
Yeah, they're not.
Maybe that's a good thing.
It is a good thing because it'd be really too warm to be actually sitting by a fire today.
Probably, I agree with that, and maybe a hazard too.
Yes.
For those that don't know, I'm Glen Stewartson. I am financial planning advisor in Halifax with a company called Asante, and a very passionate donor motivation professional. I have been for the last 8 years. I've been crowned as the oldest donor motivation professional in Canada. So I've been around for 8 years. So I'm not sure what that means, but I'll take it. So the oldest.
You don't look that old.
Yeah. Did you know that? You didn't know that?
No, I didn't know that.
What are we drinking? We're going to be drinking, this is a beer that I'm drinking today from a place called Spindrift. It's a local brewery in Halifax, and the beer is called Toller. It is the Nova Scotia duck tolling retriever on the can, which is cute as buttons. So it's a nice beer. So we're focusing on a couple of local breweries today, sitting outside drinking a cold beer. That's the idea for me. How about you, Geoff?
Yeah, you know, I have some beer from Good Robot. It's a local microbrewery that was started by 3 engineers here. They have good beer, good food, and it's fun to hang out at their place with friends and that kind of thing. Now I was fortunate enough, thank you, Glenn, you sent over a variety of beers, and I couldn't make up my mind which one to try. So I have a flight in front of me right now. There's 4 beers. We'll see if I get through the entire half hour with all of them. That might be, I don't know if we want to do that, but I'll taste them at least. I'll taste them all through the half hour, and I'll report back to you the name, and I'll report back to you the flavors, I guess.
Good. Sounds good.
What hints I smell and.
Well, I have the hat to go with it. I was over there at the brewery and I bought the hat that says Spindrift on it. So nice. I'll be out using that golfing and enjoying myself. We have half hour and lots to talk about, eh, Geoff? We've gone
Yeah.
over this a couple of times and know that we're going to run out of time. So we have three topics that we want to get covered, and I think that the first one is I don't know if we call it the elephant in the room or the most obvious, which is that we have got to get creative in new ways to connect to our donors, new ways to reach out to our donors and serve them. So maybe I'll let you. You've got a couple of interesting stories of how you've changed things up in your Zoom world.
Yeah, definitely. But first, let me have my first taste
Oh,
here. This one right here. This one is called Fizz Mint Berry Fermented Seltzer. Actually, it's a seltzer.
seltzer.
It's good. It's light. It's bright, minty, berry, and a little fizzy. And apparently, it's low calorie.
Low calorie.
I can't say that word. No, actually. So it's very interesting. You know, we've been kind of thrust into this time of change and uncertainty, and for me, after the initial shock of everything happening and everything closing down, what I saw was opportunity, and I thought it was really exciting. You know, in terms of how we could start possibly connecting with other organizations, with our colleagues, with our donors. And as you know, a lot of organizations are working to leverage virtual meetings as much as possible. And some of them are embracing the change, and some of them are being pushed outside of their comfort zone as individuals and organizations. There's a few things I think about in terms of the virtual format, if you will. One of the things, and I know I've talked about this with other colleagues before, is that, be flexible. There are so many different versions of, and so many different platforms, if you will, of virtual presentations and that kind of thing. You have Skype, you have Google Hangouts, you have Zoom, of course, which we're on, you have GoToMeetings, Messenger, FaceTime, Microsoft Teams, all these different things. And so, part of what we need to do is just be reasonable and have our expectations set so that we can work with individuals within the platform they are currently working on. So being open to those different platforms all around. And then also providing tutorials for our donors. I sat down with one of our donors, of course, on the phone. She was really interested in Zoom. When I said, hey, would you mind a Zoom call? And she says, oh, I've heard all about this. I'd love to get on a Zoom call. So I sent her the link and everything, and we got on the phone just to walk her through and make sure everything was set up. And as a matter of fact, we were going to have a researcher join in on the call, and it didn't work. We tried everything, and we weren't getting anywhere. And then she said, "Hey, can we FaceTime?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, of course we could FaceTime." So it was easy as that, and we were able to do the FaceTime call that way, which I think is a good thing.
That's your be flexible.
Yes, that's my be flexible. Be creative. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Think about take time to think about ways you can be creative in terms of. I've heard of organizations doing dinners over Zoom where they send out the dinner beforehand, which I think can be a good thing depending on how many people you have on the call. I've seen actually major gift announcements through Zoom, which I think is fantastic. I've also seen party favors sent ahead of time to organizations and people for different Zoom meetings. As a matter of fact, I was on a Zoom call yesterday for our outgoing CEO, Bill Bean. It was a retirement call.
Right.
And I have to say, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. It was definitely one of the best Zoom calls I think I had ever been on, in terms of having just having everyone say something and having a performance and having a video and all those kind of things. I thought it was phenomenal.
You also had something you wanted to say about being authentic and being real.
That's later on. That's down.
I was making fun of it because I was putting my dog in the video at the same time.
Oh, okay.
Penny wanted to get in.
I see. Okay. What's your dog's name?
It's Penny.
Penny. Okay.
So one of the things that we talk about is really getting into people's lives, and Zoom actually allows you to come into their house, into their home, have a conversation with you, and the dog's in the video, you know, in the Zoom call, the cat's walking across the back of the couch, the grandkids come in and say, oh, well, not right now, I guess the grandkids don't, but, you know, being real and being to where, you know, they are, which is that, you know, sometimes life comes along and they need to react to it. It's not like them coming into the office or, you know, you having a formal meeting or them coming to one of your teas. This is a real life, a little bit more situation. And so I found that a lot with my Zoom calls, talking to folks or on the phone with them, is in the Zoom call, they're in their living room sitting on their couch, which is a very different experience than them driving into the office, finding a parking place, coming up to my office, sitting, having a conversation. They're much more relaxed. They're much more at ease. And they tell you stuff that they wouldn't tell you sometimes in the office.
Yeah.
And a few of them are quite happy to do that going forward. They're quite happy to have those kinds of relationships going forward. And one of the most interesting things that it came up in your conversation with me earlier was that all of a sudden you can reach out quite comfortably and talk to donors who never get to the city to see you. You know, they're outside the city in Cape Breton or PEI or Ontario or even Vancouver, is that you can have a conversation with them and have a great connection with them. So this has forced us to learn a new skill that many of us didn't have before.
Yeah, and you know, Glenn, to your point, I think it's really interesting. You know, for us, for gift planning officers, you know, we are used to going out to visit with donors. Rarely do they come into the office. Once in a while, they do. And so having the Zoom call has really turned things around, if you think about it, because usually we're in their home. We're seeing their environment, and certainly we do with the Zoom call, as you're talking about that, and them feeling comfortable. But they're seeing our home for the first time. And it's very rare that I ever have a donor over to my home. And so, you know, it's one of those things where you think, okay, you want to make sure, you know, we've talked about this before, you want to make sure that whatever's in the background it makes sense. You know, you don't want to have something back there that's inappropriate. Not that any of us would do that, but, you know, make sure that actually, you know, one thing I think about is the portrait. If any of you caught the last Campfire session with Keith Thompson and Ruth McKenzie, Ruth has this beautiful portrait of a donkey behind her. And the thing I loved about it is the fact that, you know, it's a conversation starter and there's a story behind it. And I just loved seeing that and hearing that story behind it. And if you have something like that, it works out well. And certainly if you have a virtual setting that you want to set up, that's fine too.
I had a virtual setting on a Zoom call that was taken in the middle of the street when I was out in Victoria, BC. And of course, not really the right virtual background. It looks like the cars are about to run me down. So that one wasn't really the best, but some of the ones, the virtual background I have is pretty good.
Good.
Or the real
I like
one.
it.
Yeah,
I like it.
Good. It doesn't even look fake at all. You know, we were talking about, and I want to try to stay kind of on point with what we want to talk about. So one of the things that we talk about now is how to bring value to the donors, how to have a conversation with them. And one of the things that's come up over and over again is this idea of this is the time when people are actually thinking about, I've got time now, I need to update my estate documents. I have time now, I need to, you know, take a look at that, or whatever this pandemic has done, it's shaken people up a little bit so that they want to update their documents.
Yeah, you know, and that's completely true. But you know what? I have to try another one here from my flight of beers. So bear with me for a second. So this is the cream ale. It's crisp, refreshing, and apparently it's dangerous like shadow boxing. That's their description. I don't know what that means. So anyways.
Okay.
All right. What was your point, Glenn?
Yeah, exactly. Here we go. The idea of bringing value to people as you've had a number of people reach out and ask about estate documents. I've had a number of clients who come in and they've had not come in. We've been on the call and they've had a conversation with me about updating their wills and what to do. And so you were talking about, you know, just reaching out, making sure people had the right the wording in their documents and so on.
Yeah. And you know, making sure they have the right information, not only for the donors, but also for our advisors out there, for the lawyers out there, including you and folks like that. I think, you know, in terms of the easiest thing for us to do, and one of the things that we focused on after the whole COVID thing started, was we started looking at our website. And making sure that the information that we had on the website was pertinent and it was easy to get to. You know, if I think about all the open estates, all the estates in administration that we have right now, and probably in the last 18 months, I would say 50% of them are people who we didn't know about, at least. And so those are the people that are flying under the radar. Those are the people that probably go to the website, don't bother to talk to us. And I want to make sure they're getting the right information at the right time. That's, you know, that's a critical piece. So I would imagine most people that are listening into this call have gift planning information on their website. But, you know, the thing for us, we went back and we looked at the gift planning information we had there, made sure that the click-throughs weren't too onerous in terms of getting to it. And then we were also very upfront with the information they needed. We didn't hide behind a fluffy story, because we figure if you're looking for the bequest language at that point, you probably already are in our camp. You know, there's something that brought you to us in the first place. So, you know, making sure that the first thing they see is the legal name. This is what you need if you want to put us in your will. A legal name, charitable ID, sample wording, and maybe a few other things. And then, you know, a feel-good, fluffy story. And then also that connects us with the impact of the organization, and then also our contact information. And then taking that and also testing it and getting different people to look at it and see, okay, do you find this information? How do you find it? Is it working for you? Is it not working for you? Testing it with the donors and also testing it with advisors like you.
Yeah, that's a great idea. But I will put a plug in there to all organizations who are looking for stock transfers to come in. And I think I'm blue in the face, maybe not today, but usually, about saying this. Please, please put the document for the advisor to get the donor to fill out, print it off, fill it out in their office, email it to them, something that's just a PDF. Please put that on the front page of your website. It needs to be super easy. I don't know how many conversations I've had with donors over the years, and they've said, yeah, I'd like to give to a certain organization, but I was on their website and couldn't find the document. I was going to bring it in with me, or, you know, put it really obvious right in the front. Just do it, because it will help me and it would help your donors. So.
And you make a good point there, Glenn, making sure that it's something that's printable. I've gone to a number of websites just to look at other examples, and they haven't been printable forms. You know, you just print directly from the website, and that's usually a mess, and it doesn't work out well. So your point's well taken, and I've heard horror stories where people have gone, or advisors have gone to a website, and they get there and they can't find the information they need, and they end up going to another charity.
And it happens a lot, by the way. Yeah, it does actually happen a lot. So, and unfortunately, if I have to email somebody to ask them to email me a form, yeah, it's not usually a comfortable thing. So anyway, put it on the website, please. The other thing that updating the estate documents that I find so interesting is it actually, for me, is opening up the conversation to have with folks who are already your legacy donors, already committed to organizations, and talk about beneficiary designations on RIFs, TFSAs, other things. It really opens up an opportunity to discuss estates and what's going to happen. So pandemic has been very good for that.
Yeah, definitely.
One of the offshoots, I guess.
You know, one of the donors, I actually, right after the COVID, after the restrictions went in place in March, I had a lady who contacted us through our website, and she wanted more specific bequest language, which we don't necessarily put. We put the general language on the website, and chatting with her, and she said, you know, this whole COVID thing got me thinking that I needed to get this done. I started on it a year ago when my husband passed away, and I wanted to make a gift in his memory. So I was able to provide that information to her very quickly. But it's definitely something that's top of mind with a lot of donors right now. And one of the things we're making sure to do is any of those people that have, especially in surveys, have notified us that they are even remotely interested in doing some type of estate gift. Those are people we're reaching out to, in addition to all our regular donors.
Well, one thing I'll say that I'm pleased to see is that, and I will share a story, but is that so many of the organizations are continuing their mailings. They haven't backed off on the mailings. And I will share the story. I've said, you've heard this a couple of times, Geoff, where I've made a couple of checks. I still write checks for gifts, you know, sometimes. So I did make a couple of checks out and sent a couple of checks off. And one of the organizations actually phoned the house, and somebody thanked us for the donation. My wife didn't know I'd written the checks and didn't know I'd made the donation. So she was pleasantly surprised to get a message and shared that with me. So, you know, guess what? A couple of months later, I'm writing another check. So, you know, you really have to be out in the face of the donors, because and I am one, as you know. So, you know, you have to be in my face as well and remind me that, you know, there is a need out there. And so, you know, keep up the good work, you know, keep up the reach out and checking with your donors.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and what I find interesting, you know, when everything came to pass in March, and all the restrictions went in place, we got on the phone right away, started calling people. Either it was to thank them for a gift they had made to our COVID response fund, or just to say hello and check in and just make it sure that they were doing okay, which goes a long way. You know, I can't tell you how many times I talked to someone and I said, you know, it's just good to hear your voice, and they appreciate that so much. And you know, and it's just a good conversation. It's a good reach out, whether they made a gift or not. And the other thing too, you know, we didn't touch on this, but you know, you talk about you're happy to see the mail going out, but you know, even with the virtual stuff that we're doing, you know, the phone is one of the easiest things to pick up and start calling. We didn't start the Zoom calls with the Zoom call. We started with phone calls, telephone calls. So, you know, keep that in mind. You know, there's still a lot of donors up there picking up the phone. And that's actually one of the things I've really appreciated more recently in connecting with donors, is the fact that donors have been home. And they've been picking up the phone, and very rarely have I had to leave a message. And even when I did, they got back to me really quickly. And especially, you know, with some of the donors that are in the senior range, a lot of them want to just chat and tell us what's going on, and share their anxieties and share what's been going on in their life. So it's been a rewarding trend, I think, recently.
Hey, you know, that leads into one of our third points, really, is just to talk about the idea of also reaching out and meeting people where they're at. We've in Nova Scotia, we've gone through you know, a number more than regular tragedies in tragic events in our province. And you know, it's interesting getting on the phone and talking to people and having the conversation, and their, you know, neighbor was one of the RCMP the RCMP officer that was killed in the Porta Peak shooting, and they're grieving. And so you're just phoning up to check in on them, and you spend, you know, 20 minutes on the phone hearing stories. And I know, Geoff, you've had that same experience where they need to talk and they need to share it with somebody. They're telling you about their, you know, their daughter or their son that's going into, you know, rehab, or their daughter that's having issues, or they really need to just talk to somebody. And so that's why the phone's so magical. That's why it's just so great to pick up the phone and have those conversations.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, wait, I need to do
another one. Okay.
This is the Fanny Pack Lager. Fanny Pack Lager. It's supposed to be crisp, citrusy, and I'm not gonna read that.
Okay, well, I'm going to open the other beer that I have, which is also a lager
So,
called
so far, I think this is my favorite.
Oh, there you go. You found a winner.
Good. Good.
Cheers. So
Yeah, cheers.
tell me about
And the
being
one thing that,
authentic. Yeah.
yeah, well, the other thing too, in terms of what you were just talking about, especially here in Nova Scotia in the last few months, it's also, it takes a certain amount of tactful phone calling because the degrees of separation here in Nova Scotia, it's not 6 degrees, it's like 2.5 degrees. So
Yeah.
someone knows someone that might have been involved in a tragic accident. So it's keeping that in mind even when you get individuals on the phone and chatting with them, and make sure to give them their space if they need it.
I call up and I'm all excited and how are you? I'm fantastic. And, and I'm all full of cheer. And then like, how are you? And then, boom, the hammer drops and they share what, they're worried about and what's going on in their life. And somebody's got cancer and, whatever's happening in their life, and they share that with you, and they just need somebody to talk to. And at the end of the day, whatever they needed to share with you is the most important thing for them that day. And in the call, they just remember that you cared. That's really what it's all about. And if you've given them any kind of sense of comfort, then you've done your job. Yeah. Really is what I think it is at the end of the day. So
yeah, it's been hard to with some of our supporters that we've reached out to. They've had loved ones pass away, not just of natural causes, not necessarily from a tragedy or anything like that, and grieving with them and walking through with what they couldn't experience as a normal funeral. They couldn't do any of that stuff that they would normally do. So again, just to your point, I think it gave them another outlet of someone else to talk to and just kind of work that through their head.
And there's no celebration of life, so they can't gather to comfort each other. You can't attend and share that with them.
Yeah,
it's a very awkward time, for a death of a loved one. So, you need to be there and listen to them for sure.
The other thing too, Glenn, the other thing too, I was just going to say, in terms of being authentic and having these conversations, the other thing I found, although, and I think in normal circumstances, I probably wouldn't usually offer up anything, but in terms of, well, let me back up. I think of ourselves here, certainly in Halifax and other places, we are a community. And so, when I'm talking to a donor and, with all the COVID stuff going on and they're saying they can't get groceries, you betcha I'm happy to go down there and offer groceries. Right. It may not be something I would normally do in regular situations, but, given everything going on, I'd be more than happy to put groceries on that doorstep just because, that person's a neighbor.
Yeah, it is also interesting that some of them just don't know what is available for them. The calling up and putting an order in and having it delivered to their doorstep. Right. And, these things are available to us. What's interesting is that I feel that was started about maybe 5 or 10 years ago and never caught on. And now all of a sudden it's here. It was kind of half there. Now it's here. And I wonder how much that's actually going to continue. Seniors that I talk to, though, getting groceries is one of their highlights up to a couple of weeks ago. They only went out to get groceries, and that was their highlight, and they hate getting groceries, but they got to get out of the house.
Yeah, they got to get out of the house. They got to get the groceries early, and there weren't a lot of people in the market at that time, at the 8 o'clock hour when they were allowing seniors to come in.
Just got to get outside, right? Yeah. They got to go somewhere and do something. So anyway, it's good and fun. I wanted to share one of the thoughts that I had. I mentioned it today, and I'm going to change it a little bit. We had our CAGP call today, our coffee chat, which was a lot of fun with our group in Nova Scotia and New Brunswick. But this too shall pass. The whole idea that, this is the new normal. This is not the new normal. This is just a phase that we're going through. This too shall pass. And at this point in time, one of the things you can do is you can lean in to make that difference with people. Lean in to reach out to them. If you have to leave a message, Geoff doesn't, he's magical, but sometimes you might have to leave a message on the phone with folks, but call them, you know, reach out to them, have that conversation, have a chat. It doesn't cost you anything, right? You just pick up the phone, and I know that not everybody is in the same situation, but I'm sure when you get up in the morning, if you can make the difference in 2 or 3 people's lives by picking up the phone and calling them, you'll finish off the day feeling pretty good about yourself.
Yeah, definitely. I like that too.
Did you drink all your beer?
No, I have the last one here.
Oh, okay.
So this one's called Leave Me Blue.
Leave Me Blue?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You picked these out, right? This is sweet and smooth with tones of bluegrass.
Bluegrass. What was your favorite though? Was the one before?
It was the Fanny Pack Lager, this one here.
Fanny Pack Lager? Okay.
It's a bit citrusy. That's what I think I like about it.
Okay. I think there's going to be a follow-up. I'm reading on the chat on the side there. There's going to be some recommendations on breweries that need to come out. So that's all good.
But, you know, the good news is when we have the conference here for CAGP, some of you might have the opportunity to try some of these beers.
I hope so. You know, the opportunity is a lot of them will be in the bars and restaurants, so we can actually you know, try something out in a few of those downtown. I certainly hope that we'll be able to have our conference here next year. I look forward, and I mean, I know that's a lifetime away, but I certainly hope we can get in the point where we can be traveling and meeting again. So cross the fingers. I don't know. How's that?
So Glenn, we're at 6:29 now.
Oh, last words of wisdom.
Yeah. I just want to say thank you to you. Thank you to Donor Motivation Program and Keith and Serena and CAGP for this opportunity. This is something I've never done before. It's creative, and you know, I couldn't turn you down when you said let's drink some beer and get on a Zoom call.
I thought that was a pretty good invite. No, I don't think anybody could turn me down for that one, but yeah, it was good. Did you want to turn off your picture behind so people could see how authentic you are in the?
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, because you really do have a nice background without the virtual.
Well, it's just my office. Hang on a second.
It's very nice. So. There
we go. How about that?
That's nice. I also will second that. Thank you very much for coming on and agreeing to do this. I think one of the best parts about doing this is just to be able to have a conversation and share, you know, what we're experiencing with other folks, because I'm sure that they have a lot of the same issues at this point in time. So.
And we should just let everyone know we're available if you need to get in touch with us. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or anything like that, let us know.
I'm sure you can reach out through Serena, and I don't know how to end this, so I will say good day.
Yeah, have a good day, and thank you for all the comments, everyone. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.